Hey, what's up everybody? And we have another knife video for you. Now this one is the Spyderco Southard, and I'm sure there's been tons of videos on these, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about specs and things like that. Mainly, once again, my overview and thoughts on the knife, and also a lot of comparison to the Spyderco Domino, which I actually received before getting this, and then also to the ZT0561, which this was probably most commonly compared to when it first came out. Now, right off the bat, this was a long-awaited knife. I've been trying to get one for a long time. I kind of missed out when they first came out, which I believe was back last year in 2012, and obviously they sold out right away. And it's been on back order ever since. I kind of signed up for every dealer's newsletter or email alert, and I actually got one from Blade Ops right at the mid part of this month, I want to say. They said they had it in stock, and they were actually running a sale too. If you used the word dollar in their coupon code, it gave you $10 off as well. So even on this knife that applied to, a very highly sought after knife. So got a good deal on this, got it, and pretty much right after I ordered it, they went right back out of stock. Since that time, I know both GP Knives and Blade HQ got some in stock. I'm not sure if they're still in stock anymore or not, but definitely this is a hot item, and I'm sure pretty much anyone that was on those email lists or alerts, once they heard about it, they ordered them right away. I know a lot of people order multiples of these pretty much to resell or to have one and pimp the other one out or something like that. But let's get right into the knife. Really impressed with it. Probably, I would have to say right now, it's my favorite production knife of all the knives that I have. And I've obviously gotten in a lot of production knives, especially about 2 months ago I started getting them in, and then kind of stocked up since then on all of them. But really, it's one of those knives that the overall feel of it, how it performs, how it looks, how it flips, the design, that overall it kind of beats out everything else. And let me just raise this up a little bit to get a little more room for you guys to look at this. So you have the G10 front scale, but you really have very thick titanium. So even this liner by itself is fairly thick, and I'll show you that in a minute compared to the other knives that I have here to show you. And then the back slab is nice and thick. I like the standoffs being right in just that polished finish, the lanyard through tube. At first I wasn't super pleased with this clip that they did, but once again it is different from a standard Spyderco clip. It's not just the three-piece snap-on spoon design, and when you really look at it, you can see it has been stonewashed or scuffed up, not to really match the stonewashing of the titanium, but to match the blade, which is something, if you've watched some other videos, I really like when they make the clip match the blade. I just think it's a very nice combination on that. And then getting into the blade, this is CTS 204P, which from my limited understanding of steels, if we can get that to focus a little bit better, there we go, is most comparable to M390. So it's a very high-end steel. And you have a really great stonewash on there. The edge seems pretty nice. You know, not a mirror finished edge, obviously being production knife, but you have a nice, small, seamless grind on there. Hollow grind blade. I know people love hollow grind, and I like it too. I like how it looks and everything, but really, after doing cut tests with that Spyderco Domino, that flat grind seems to be the best slicer. So we'll see how this cuts on paper. I'll do a little cut test on that in a little bit as well. But you can see this great stonewashing. I really like the titanium when it's on this dark gray. I think that really looks nice. And then obviously the stonewashing on the clip on the backside scale, the frame lock side, and on the blade makes this able to be a really great user. You know, it's not going to show much wear at all because of the stonewashing on all the parts. And then you have this really grippy brown G10. It's a little bit lighter, I want to say, than the G10 that's on the ZTO 561, and it's definitely more grippy. I mean, it's almost a micarta gripness to it, and you can hear that rubbing against it. I like it. It also sets itself up very easily to be a pimpable knife because you could obviously do another scale on here. I like and dislike this little cutout for two reasons. I like it because it actually is very usable. Your finger fits into it nicely, both to get into the knife and then after it's open, this finger curls around it so nicely. This double kind of half circle they did. Really, when you're in this grip, your finger feels locked in. It actually kind of sticks a little bit right there. And even when you go full grip, the meat of your finger sits in there very nicely. And then when you go reverse grip, same thing. You can feel your pinky kind of lock into that choil very nicely on there. I dislike it just because I don't think aesthetically it looks that great. You know, it is done, it's cut out fine, but it really feels like it should have been kind of done in a hill and a slope instead of just sectioned off. You know, it looks almost too CNC'd there, and I have no issue with CNC or water jet or any of that stuff. I think those tools are necessary, especially to get knives out to people that want them. You know, it's just so limited. I appreciate handmade, and I understand that, but this is a production knife, so I can be okay with it. It's just that especially when you see the pimp knife versions, this is kind of brought down more at a straight angle instead of just a cutout section. But once again, it is very useful. It feels great. Flippability on this knife, once again, when you think about it overall, it's excellent. You can flip it any way you want, you know, straight up, no wrist action at all required, down, you know, I can do it from the middle finger. I mean, look at that. It's so smooth that it actually bounced back up out of it. Detent is great on it. We'll check that out here. You know, it drops right in. The Spidey hole is a little hard to use on this knife. Not a little, probably medium level as far as being able to use it. Like, you can flick it out, but you have to put some thought into it. You know, you have to get in there, and it is a little difficult. It is a smaller hole. Obviously, it's a Brad Southard design. It's all based on his design, so you know, Spyderco had to work their Spidey hole into that. Obviously, his knives aren't designed with that as the main theme, whereas Spyderco's are. The other thing I love about this is the stock of the blade. It's not ridiculously thick, but it's not also ridiculously thin. I really like a decent stock on the blade. I understand the purposes of having thinner blades, and I do have thinner blades, and I think sometimes the look and profile of them on the side is great, but I do like having that little bit thicker stock, and I think this makes it a little bit more versatile knife too. And you can see when you stare down it, both sides are even. Lock up on it, I'd say 50%. Once again, this is just a titanium frame lock on a steel, which is a very strong, sturdy steel, being the CTS 204P. So this may, in time, wear over. Obviously, one thing that would be nice is to have a steel lock bar insert here. But I really love, getting back to this choil here, how easy it is to disengage this. And I think a lot of production knives, and even some custom knives, make it a little too difficult for you to get in and push that lock bar out. Whereas this, you can just see, I could, you know, looking at it, and I have no problem showing this. I mean, I think it's because they did the stonewashing and they did the finish on this the same way through. You're still going to be holding a knife, see the different parts of it. So I have no problem looking through and seeing the lock bar there, because it's so easy for me to get my thumb in and release it. You know, I love this over travel, how they figured that out by putting the G10 piece in there to match here. And obviously, if you get it pimped, you can have whatever scale material you have there match this. You know, just standard torque pivots and screws, and I have no problem. It's a production knife, that's fine. But I'm saying, just the flipping of this knife, right off the bat I hit into the shirt. There we go. The flipping is very, very solid, and it just locks into place super well. So the jimping is fine. You know, some people say it's not aggressive enough. As long as there's a little bit of jimping on any knife, especially when it's done both on the frames and on the blade, I think it works out very well. But I'd say when this thing flips, it's not the fastest. It is fast. It's smooth. I wouldn't say it's probably the smoothest ever, but it's very smooth. But the best part about it is how when it locks into place, the snap it makes. It's really like, you know, snapping your fingers, that sound. And I'd say it feels very solid in that I compare it to maybe something such as Legos. You know, when you snap the Lego onto the other piece, maybe that, you know, that 4-piece block where it has the 4 dots, and you put the other one right on top and it snaps in perfectly, and it's that perfect seamless line. That's the feel you get out of this knife. Just solid, fits in the hand perfectly, both ways. You know, either hand feels great, very usable knife. And then let's just give you a little comparison in size. Here's the Spyderco Domino, and we'll show them both ways here and here. And now this looks a little bit longer than the Domino, and the blade is definitely longer. But when you have them the butt to butt, as everyone likes, the handles are almost exactly the same size, really. And the best way to show you that is from the overview. So here's the 2 pivots. If I line the pivots right up, you can see everything lines up almost exactly. I mean, look at that. But once again, you can see how the Southard has a slightly thicker frame lock side titanium. The scale side might be the same as the Domino, but I definitely say the G10 is thicker than the carbon fiber laminate G10 that's on the Domino. Excuse me, sorry guys. But even here you can see handles pretty much the same. Both of these I enjoy a lot, but I'd say if I had to pick one, I would still have to go with the Southard. Even with the price difference, you know, this being in the let's say between $250 and $280 are the prices on these usually from the dealers, and this being in the $190 to $210 level from dealers. Even with that price difference taken in, I just feel myself reaching for this one more. Now, am I going to use this one? Probably not. I like it a little too much. It just feels almost too nice. This is what I'll definitely carry every day. It's more useful for my work, having the shorter blade, and really having the choil. I mean, there are positives and negatives to both. You know, when you look at these, this Spidey hole is much more usable. Very easy to flick out. You know, even using your middle finger, using your ring finger. You can do it from your pinky. It actually flips out a little bit faster than the Southard, I would say, as far as speed-wise go. But once again, you look at the stock on the blade, and it's a lot thinner. And you saw the cutting ability on some of my other cut tests with it, but I just like this little bit of thickness. It just gives me a little bit more confidence. And when you compare the steels, CTS XHP is a very nice steel. I've heard nothing but good things about it. But from my understanding, it really is just known as an upgraded version of CPM 154. Whereas if you're looking at the scale, and the scale that I kind of go by is Elliot Williamson's, or as you guys know, Ferrum Forge Knife Works. On his webpage, he kind of lists how he ranks steels and their properties. You kind of have CPM 154, then CTS XHP, kind of right at the same level as N690, and then he kind of goes to, you know, the higher end S steels, let's say the S90Vs, the S125Vs or S110Vs, then to LMAX, then to M390, and then out to the higher end stuff like obviously SM100, which isn't even a steel. So when you're looking at this, how I would assume Elliot would rank these would be that this steel he thinks is slightly better than this steel. So you are getting a slightly better steel. And when you look at, if you ever check out Jesse Jarrah's, he kind of describes why, just because a steel prices aren't that much difference, you know, even if you're going from one to another, $5–10 difference or something like that. Which you think, okay, so this should only be $5–10 higher than this if the steel is only, you know, that much more per pound. But it's what it does to all your machinery. You know, the higher grade the steel, the more sand, you know, grinding you're going to go through. So the more belts you'll run through, the more finish work you'll go through, the longer it takes. So you have to factor all those costs in too, and that makes a difference. Both these are made in Taiwan, in Taichung. And so really it just depends on what your use is for the knife, if that's going to determine it. But as far as overall feel, I would definitely probably have to stick with this one. I just find myself reaching for it more than any of the rest. And then comparing it to the ZT, we'll look at it closed. You can see it definitely is smaller, both width and length. But both feel to fill the hand pretty well. I put this in my hand, it feels good. I think it's actually thicker. Yeah, I mean, you definitely have a thicker titanium part to it and thicker G10 part on the Spyderco than the ZT, but you have more of the width here. So the width kind of, this fills up right here. You have the jimping. And put, you know, even like this. Yeah, I mean, the ZT still on camera looks like it dwarfs it, even if we reverse it and put this down here. But yet, when they're in hand, I don't feel a significant difference in it. And you can see with this one, the slight pointing down, and this one with a slight recurve up, you don't lose as much blade as you think you would. Now, you don't have the width of the blade, but even when you go back to the thickness, the Spyderco looks slightly thicker. Maybe not at the tip, but definitely in the middle of the blade. And price comparable wise, you know, these are very similar in price. This runs between, this is always listed at $260. I'm sure you can find it for less. Like I said, this is listed in the $250 to $280 range. So price wise, these are actually more comparable than these two. And same thing, you're getting a titanium lock bar on a steel frame. This is LMAX. This is 204P, which, like I said, is closer to M390, which is like a little slightly next level of LMAX. Stonewashing, titanium and G10. Stonewashing, titanium, G10. Only thing I really like to change about this knife is just I wish they had added a choil, which is the same thing I would have liked about this one, if they had added a choil here just so you could choke up. Because once again, you have this, which is a slightly smaller knife than both of these, but yet you still have the choil on here, which I just think adds a lot onto here. And I'm not taking anything that I said about this as being possibly the perfect EDC for me, for my needs, and I'll probably keep using this one. And obviously this one I most likely will not use that much, just take it out and flip and have fun with it, because it just feels awesome. But if I had to possibly choose and just have one knife in all my production knives, I might have to, I think, yeah, I definitely would have to pick this out of all of them, even over the Microtex and the RJ Martin 0600, just because of the overall feel of it. Just an overall performer. It's maybe not the best in anything, but it's definitely great in everything. So those are my thoughts on it. Let me do a quick cut test for you guys on this one, just so you can see how it compares, and we'll be all done. So first we'll do the paper, regular standard copy paper. Pull this out here, and every time I say I'm going to do a quick video, I get it to 20 minutes. Terrible. Sorry, guys. So, very nice. Very smooth. Look at that. Just a straight push cut. Excellent. Feels really good. Slides through nicely. This is just a production edge on here, as all the knives I've ever cut test for you guys have been. And now we'll get to the catalog paper. The hardest stuff I think that is there to cut. We'll see how this holds up. Yeah, it still feels good on there. Alright. Ooh. Not bad. Let's see. Tearing a little bit. Well, let's wipe this off a little bit one more time. There we go. All right. Yeah. The first one was good. Well, cutting against the grain is the worst to do, but we're running out of space to use. A little bit better. Oh, there we go. Let's see if we can use this last piece over here. There we go. Just get a nice... The push cuts weren't really working too well, but the slicers are catching it a lot better. Yep. And then just to compare, we'll bring this one out. Yeah, I mean, you guys can see how this definitely is the better performer. And that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about this flat grind or convex grinds versus the hollow grinds. I think that makes a big difference, you know? And, you know, once again, even with this not being able to cut slice paper as well as this, I just like this knife so much. You know, it feels, just the feel when it snaps, that snap on the opening. You can see how smooth it is. Perfectly centered. Nothing wrong with that. So we'll cut this off at 21 and a half minutes. That was supposed to be a short video, but that gives you a little look compared to what most people want to check it out to now, the Domino, and then also the ZT was compared to before. But awesome knife. Love it. Probably will keep this one for a long time. So thanks a lot, guys. Once again, I'll get to that pocket clip video when I can. Been a little crazy with stuff. So thanks a lot, and I'll see you later.